Show. We are joined right now by our good friend, Doug Schoen, Democratic strategist and Newsmax contributor. Hey, Doug.
Steve, thank you for the introduction, as always.
Well, it's my pleasure. It was hard to write, but someone had to do it. No, I'm only kidding. Pleasure to have you back on. And
any way I can get it.
All right, let me talk. Let me give you some numbers here. Sure. A poll of likely Hispanic voters for the 2016 presidential race shows Marco Rubio trailing potential nominee Hillary Clinton, 66 to 28% with Hispanics, and 60 to 28 for Joe Biden. Marco Rubio's approval rating with Hispanics since he undertook this immigration reform mantle has gone up 1%. So to me, this makes the point that I've been harping on and harping on and harping on, is that A, immigration reform is low on the priority list for Hispanics, and it's political suicide for Republicans to go along with it for a number of reasons. What's your take?
My take is slightly different, but I reach a pretty similar conclusion. To me, it's not a political panacea. Unless there is a pro-growth agenda, that is, for Hispanics that integrates them economically, politically, socially, and culturally into American life and shows that the Republican Party really cares, immigration reform in and of itself is not going to make a difference. And if the pathway to citizenship is as onerous as this bill provides, I don't think it's going to do much. So I guess we reach a similar conclusion, different perspectives.
And furthermore, let me ask you this. I've also been of the opinion that no matter how far the Republicans go on immigration, when push comes to shove, and if there is a final bill, and if there ever was a so-called comprehensive immigration bill passed, when the final product is held up, the Democrats will kick and scream after a week or two, after a day, that, hey, you know, we wanted to give you this, but the evil Republicans took it out of the bill. And I have in my hand this story from Yahoo.com. Rubio, quote, "I'm done if immigration bill includes gay couple amendment." Just one example. So, again, no matter how far the Republicans would go, and they think, and I don't even know how many really think this, they're helping themselves, they're still going to be portrayed as evil and obstinate and standing in the way of real immigration reform, but yet they would have caved in on many, many, many issues.
Well, let me put it to you this way, Steve. I said I don't think it's a panacea. I would go so far as to say that I don't believe passing immigration reform is going to fundamentally alter the standing of the Republican Party with Hispanics or generally. It is something I support. I know it's something you oppose, but bottom line, the Republican Party needs an inclusive agenda, not just an effort to attach a set of issue concerns to a bill to try to appease a constituency.
You know, I was listening to Rush while I was driving in today, and I guess he was on Fox and Friends this morning, and one of the things that came up, he talked about how the Democrats are just salivating at the thought of ending what would be known as a lame duck presidency by trying to take the House back and keep the Senate, of course. And he was asked, I think by Brian Kilmeade, do you really think that could happen? And Rush said, oh, yeah, because they're considering, you know, policies and bills and passing bills, at least in the Senate, that are detrimental to Republicans and not popular with conservatives and Republican voters. And he feels they're doing themselves a lot of harm. Do you see any way that the Democrats take back the House in the midterms?
No, I don't. I have to disagree. I think the Senate is in play. I think the Republicans will probably get close to winning a majority. Probably won't get all the way, the Republicans being the Republicans. And look, with the president at 43% approval, the people feeling the country's heading in the wrong direction, anemic economic growth, Steve, this is not a good time to be a Democrat or to be President Obama. Though I would agree with Rush about one thing. The greatest asset the Democrats have now are the Republicans.
Yeah, and what do you think it is? I mean, do you think Lindsey Graham, when he says these things, and John McCain, you think they really think that, you know, that they're taking Charles Schumer's advice? Yes, we have to pass this, otherwise we'll never win another national election. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Senator Schumer, for that advice, and all the other Democrats, too. Or do you think that there's some other motivation for them wanting this passed?
Well, look, I can't speak to their motivation.
I know.
I can only tell you this. If I were looking for an advisor for the Republican Party, the last person I would call is Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's a bunch of them. It's Schumer and it's all these talking heads on the left giving this free advice. Let me ask you one more, and that is Barack Obama and the whole Snowden thing. How do you think he's? Well, let me actually go to Egypt real quick because we're going to do Egypt in a minute with our next guest. Was this? I had Judy Miller on yesterday, and she said you can't blame this on Obama. But what wasn't getting rid of Mubarak? I mean, it couldn't have been done without Obama. The Muslim Brotherhood couldn't have gotten in without Obama. Doesn't he have some responsibility here?
Well, let me put it to you this way. Judy is a dear friend of mine, and I defer to her judgment on Egypt. But that being said, there's been no leadership from the United States. There has been no management of this process. And I dare say we're heading back right where we started with military control if the military does what I fear they will do, which is to go forward with a coup within the next 48 hours. And I'm not a believer in military government, but Steve, there is not one fiber of my being that believes that what the Muslim Brotherhood and Mohammed Morsi has done is in the interests of the United States, the West, or the people of Egypt for that matter.
Doug, have yourself a great 4th holiday. We'll speak to you.